You often refer to yourself as the luckiest man alive because of what you do for a living.
Yeah.
When you play music, what does it do to you?
Well, ever since I was young, I've been obsessed with music. To me, it's like a puzzle. It's like a Rubik's Cube, you know? Even if I were sitting here talking to you and there was music in the background, I'd kind of pretend to listen to you. But I'd be focused on like, oh, I bet that's an 18-inch kick drum, and that's kind of an interesting drum loop that they have going, and it's just it's a part of my mind that borders on having an obsessive compulsive disorder. Music, at some point in my life, became like my religion. Like, I looked at it as something that was more than just a vinyl disc or more than a poster on the wall. It was something that opened me up and made me believe in other things, made me believe in a world outside of my own. And so I get to do that every day.
You lucky bastard. And what do you hope it does to other people?
The same thing.
Yeah?
I mean, the reason why I'm so in love with music is because I grew up listening to music that was important, music that was meant to inspire, or music that was meant to heal, or, you know. And I hope that kids today still feel the same way.
We're going to show a clip of your latest single. This is from your a double album,
Yeah.
in your honour. This is the Foo Fighters. That's The Best of You, which is actually one of the ballads on the album.
Kind of.
What? Because you're really into volume too. What is it about sheer volume that works for you?
It's just sometimes turning up to 10 and screaming your balls off is cathartic, you know? There's something about, it's almost like that, it's like primal scream therapy, you know? If you've written a song about something you truly feel passionate about, sometimes it just makes you scream.
I want to see the punk ethic go into a symphony orchestra. I want to see a symphony orchestra play and then smash their instruments.
Those things are expensive, man.
You smashed so many in with Nirvana.
But drums and guitars, you know, those things are those are made of plastic.
Yeah. One of the things I really love about the Foos, which sets you apart from so many other bands, is your clips are funny. For those that haven't seen them, here's Big Me.
Oh my God.
So many bands take themselves seriously. Why don't you guys?
Well, actually, the Big Me video, the one that's the parody of the Mentos commercial, that was the first video that we'd made that was, it was like a parody of a music video. We did that here, actually, in Australia. We filmed that down here. There's something that bothers me about musicians that rely on image in order to sell their music. That's never really been a part of what we do. You know, we're just kind of focused on the music, and as you can see, we're not really concerned with looking handsome or you know, like a rock band.
Yeah.
So the idea of we were like making fun of making videos. In some ways, it's a necessary evil, but after doing that, the Big Me video, we realized, man, we could do this, you know? We could take the piss out of ourselves. And it's funny.
You go further, though. Your backstage rider is interesting reading, too, because...
Where'd you get that?
You demand air conditioning and heating, quote, as is customary in modern times. And you will not share your dressing room with anyone unless they're Supergrass, Oasis, or maybe Led Zeppelin.
Maybe.
What is it about rock and roll wankery that amuses you?
Because it's such a circus. It's so ridiculous. Everything that goes along with being in a band that at our level it's just funny. When I started playing music, I played in little neighborhood bands when I was 13 or 14. But then I discovered punk rock, and I got really into punk rock, and I just played hardcore punk rock, and and there was no way that there was no career ambition, you know, because there was no way that you could sell more than 17 of these noisy little records that you'd made. So still to this day, like, everything that I do is kind of rooted in that. I mean, I just love playing music, and I feel like the luckiest person alive that I can sit out here and talk about myself to a network television show. It's sort of strange to me. So the circus that surrounds it is just, it's just funny. It's surreal.
Who's
sometimes.
your idea of circus? What's an act you look at and go, oh, never let me be that?
A musician?
Yeah, and
well, there are times when I look at Mick Jagger and I think, dude, God, just retire. But at the same time, I can understand why he's still there, because I'm sure it's for the love of making music.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't want that to happen to me. I hope that at some point I'll either, I don't know, break both legs and not be able to crawl to the stage, or lose my love of music. I'd rather just make music and share it with people than, you know, worry about what kind of peanut butter someone got me on the rider and have a diva tantrum over, you know, the wrong pair of socks.
Though you do have in your rider
Socks.
and 4 clean pairs of boxer shorts.
And they better be the goddamn right boxer shorts, or there's no show.
Just how heavily do you rock? How much pressure does this put on your undergarments?
So much, yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
You mentioned...
Thanks for not calling them diapers, by the way.
That's all right. You know, the only other guy that asked for boxer shorts in his rider is Moby.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I can feel
I didn't
retirement
know
coming
that.
on.
Thanks. Yeah.
You mentioned when you were 16 you got into punk rock. Like,
Yeah.
your mum worked 3 jobs. She worked really hard. Your dad
did, yeah.
was a Republican speechwriter.
Yeah.
How did they take to you looking out for pot everywhere and joining punk bands?
Well, both of them were musicians as well. My mother, when she was young, she sang in vocal groups in the 50s. And my father was a classically trained flautist, and he played in orchestras when he was young. There's like the child prodigy flute guy. And so they both had a great appreciation of music. But when I dropped out of school to play music, I mean, you know, they're parents. There was resistance. I think they believed in my love of music, and they had faith that I could probably do something good.
Could they hear it, though?
Not at that time, because it just sounded like, you know, I mean, it wasn't like I was writing an acoustic album. It was, you know, it was a lot noisier. But
you didn't use acoustic drums?
well, that's different, man. It's a whole other thing. But I think if I were to have a child and my child pulled a stunt like I did when I was 17 or 18 years old and split school to go jump in a van with 4 other guys and tour Europe and sleep on people's floors and you know, $7 a day per diem, and that doesn't go far. And if I were to have a child that did the same thing, I'd be concerned as well, because 99 times out of 100 it doesn't pay off. You know, it doesn't. I really feel like I won the lottery, man. I got to go out and do what I love to do. It's ridiculous to keep saying it, but it's absolutely true.
I'm starting to really resent you for it, too.
I'm sorry. But I mean, you know, it's that kind of thing where when people ask me about, God, you must be exhausted. You guys work so hard. I'm like, you know what working is? I used to work in a furniture warehouse. That seems like work to me. Coming here and talking to you on a television show, that's like, that didn't work. I might not have slept last night, but shit, this is great.
You mentioned your mum before. You, during Nirvana's days, and even now, you often take her on tour.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I'm the guy with the cool mom. I got the cool mom, so we can go out and play a festival, and after we're done playing, I'll come back to the dressing room, and my mom's having a Guinness with Billy Joe from Green Day.
Yeah?
You know, or I just basically just hand her a pass and let her do her thing now. I mean, early on, I'd have to, you know, make sure that she had her room and she was comfortable and she wasn't getting accosted by other people. And now, you bring mom to a show and it's like she's in the band. She's like part of the crew.
Has she ever stage dived?
Hell no. No, but
She should.
No, she shouldn't. I remember taking her out into the front row of at a rock festival. The Prodigy were playing, headlining this festival. It was like a field of 70,000 people, just bouncing up and down like an army. And my mom wanted to go front row, and I said, no. Like, I don't want to. Please don't. Please. And she said, I want to go front row. And so I pulled my mom into 50,000 people, and she danced to the Prodigy for a few songs, and she said, okay, now get me the hell out of here. You know. But she's great. I mean, both of my parents were always really supportive, but my mother especially. Like, I think when I was young, she knew that there was something about me that was going to be all right. She had faith in me as an individual, and even when I was young, I had this independent spirit that I felt like I don't need to take that conventional 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, 4 years. I just kind of figured I'd be all right.
Just seize life and go for it.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it. I felt like that when I was a kid, and I think my mom knew. I think my dad wanted me to, go to the army or something like that, but my mom was really, she knew. Because when I told her I was leaving school, she said, all right, well, you better be good at this. I'm like, I'll try.
That's a good mum.
Yeah.
Before the Foo Fighters, of course, Nirvana, and the album, that seminal album, Nevermind. Before that came out, you and Kurt and Chris would drive around the Hollywood Hills listening to the tapes. Did it sound special? What did you hear?
When it's three guys in a band, it just seems like three guys in a band to you, I think Nirvana means something else to everyone else. Really, it was just three dudes who played music, and we sounded good when we played together, and it was really simple,
Everything did change. I mean, you actually ended up with that cliche anthem to a generation, which in particular was the song Smells Like Teen Spirit. For those who may never have seen or heard it, here's a bit. Is it hard to get your head around something so small, the three of you becoming so huge?
Yeah, sort of. There are parts of it that I understand. There's parts of it that I can understand why it made sense at the time. I mean, that was 1991, and there wasn't a lot of music that people could relate to at the time. You had a lot of like glam rock, heavy metal bands that sang songs about cocaine and limousines and chicks, and they all wore makeup, and I don't know anybody like that, so it was hard to relate to that. Or you had Michael Bolton, and so it was slim pickings at the time.
He was great.
Well, but so so I can understand how it maybe struck a chord with a lot of kids. But then there are other things that you can't imagine something like that happening in your life. I was 21 or 22 years old, and I was a kid. I had a blast.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Was it your reaction to go out and buy stretch limos that stretch sideways?
No, what's funny is that I remember the first check I got was $750, and that's the most money I'd ever had in my bank account at one time in my life. And I remember the first thing I did, I got a BB gun, a Nintendo, and a tattoo. And then I had to wait for the next check. I was screwed. But yeah, I mean, that was my first purchase. That's when I knew I made it.
As we know, Kurt killed himself in '94.
Yeah.
Does it amaze you the way suicide rewrites a history? Every lyric becomes a portent of doom. Suddenly nobody ever had a good time, had a laugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that it ended that way, because ultimately it just leaves everyone with this question mark, everybody involved. So yeah, it really was a horrible ending to something really beautiful. And you're right, what it does is it leads everyone to believe that the band walked with a black cloud over our heads the whole time. But it was fun. Like it was so much of it was really fun. You know, I have just as many questions as most people, but at the same time, I have a lot to look forward to. So rather than spend too much time in the past, when Kurt died, I realized, okay, life is so delicate, it's so short, that you really have to take advantage of every day, you know, that I'm lucky enough to wake up this morning. Even if it's the worst day of my life, I still get to be, you know? And since then I've had that attitude. It has a lot to do with why I started this band, because I wasn't done yet, you know? I might die tomorrow, but as long as I spend every day like it's a gift, then I'll be fine, you know?
When you came out with the Foo Fighters, which was about a year after Nirvana ended, you came out from behind the drums. There you were, out front. Was that liberating? Was it a bit scary?
God, it was scary.
Yeah?
It was so scary, and it was one of the reasons why I did it. I mean, it's that thrill of, it's, you know, it's like a roller coaster, or just being terrified to do something and doing it and finishing with it, walking off stage and feeling the most incredible relief. Oh, God, I did it. I still feel that way.
Yeah?
Fuck, man, I'm horrified. I'm horrified doing this. Like, this is weird to me, you know? But absolutely. It's what keeps it exciting, you know?
Was it a totally different dynamic when you got on the stage, because the drummer, you're up the back.
Yeah.
You can sort of pick and choose who you're going to look at. But when you're out the front, you've got to engage. Was that a totally different dynamic for you?
Yeah, you get way more chicks, too. Absolutely. I mean, you know, as a drummer, drumming's physical, you know, it's like dancing, and you kind of shut everything off and you lose yourself in the song. It's sort of the same as a lead singer, but, you know, you also have to bring the audience in, you know. I mean, the idea that Freddie Mercury could get 60,000 people to do vocal exercises with him in the middle of a show, that's incredible, you know, to be able to turn an arena into a small club, you know, to somehow reach the people that are all the way in the back. That's a challenge. That's the kind of thing that I'm still trying to figure out.
You said that you get way more chicks when you're the lead singer. After your third album, The Colour and the Shape, you went off to LA, you're a single guy, and in your words, you screwed and partied for a whole year.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did say that. Does that lose its value after a while?
Yeah, about a year.
Bravo.
Yeah. After about a year, you know, I retreated to Virginia. I grew up in Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C., and after living in Los Angeles, I can understand how people just get lost there and disappear forever. I mean, it can be paradise. It could, if that's your thing, you know. But it can be a lot of fun when you're young and newly single. And
did your family kind of? You went back to Virginia where your family are. Did they kind of say, "Dave, come in, Dave"?
No. It wasn't like that. I did that for myself. I think that. I think what happened was that I started experiencing that side of rock and roll that you'd imagine every person in a band to go through, and the circus that I was talking about, you know. And I didn't like it. It didn't work for me, you know. I decided that...
That's meant to be the rock thing, though, isn't it?
It kind of is, yeah.
Why
but
didn't
see,
it work
I'm
for you?
also, I mean, I stopped doing drugs when I was about 20 years old. 20 or 21, maybe 20.
Why'd you stop?
It just made me feel weird. I don't know how to better explain it, but I didn't feel like I needed it, and I didn't, you know, I'd smoke weed and get panic attacks and get hives, and it was horrible. I think I turned allergic to it, actually.
Yeah.
But
Suddenly Michael Bolton songs made sense.
yeah, and then I just drank those out of my head. But you know, I haven't led that conventional rock and roll lifestyle, you know. I have a really modest home. I have the same friends I've had since I was 7 years old. And a good night for me is a gig and a pizza and a DVD and a nice warm bed.
Let's finish on something that really great that Shirley Manson from Garbage said about you. The lead singer of the Libertines, Pete Doherty, recently survived a drug overdose, leading that classic rock and roll lifestyle. And she said, what would you say to Pete Doherty? And she said, I wouldn't say anything. I get him to talk to Dave Grohl. He's full of life. He's into the joy of life, not, you know, some hackneyed rock and roll cliche. Is that how you feel about life, joyous?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's with someone like Pete from the Libertines, who I've never met. It's just, God, it's like a biography that you've read 10 times before. It doesn't have to be that way. And, you know, I'm not one to preach to anybody. I've had my share of fun, too. But music's such a beautiful thing. Like, I'd hate to see it suffer to something like drugs, you know? What a drag. What a waste. Such a bummer. And I mean, in a way, it's almost glorified, you know? Wow, he must be a badass. He's living the life. And to me, it just seems like, oh, God, don't do it. Such a cliche dead end, you know? But at the same time, I don't mind drinking half a bottle of whiskey every now and then with some friends.
I look forward to your 2025 tour of Australia. Dave Grohl, thank
It'll
you
never
very
happen.
much.